Welcome back to Chronic University. My name is Nathaniel Brown and I'm the Director of Advocacy at the Chronic Disease Coalition. In this video, you'll learn how to request and prepare for a meeting with legislators, ensure the meeting goes smoothly, and follow up afterwards. We know that setting up a meeting like this and making sure that it goes smoothly is overwhelming. But let's hear from one of our ambassadors who's done this for many years, and he can tell you how he approaches these kinds of meetings.
It's not as hard as what you might think. Sometimes we think that it's hard to get in touch with our legislators. They are there in office to help and support your causes. So it's easy to send an email and you'll get a reply. It's easy to call the office and try and set up an appointment. Don't be discouraged in case you don't hear anything in the first 5 minutes after you've sent out a call. Be persistent with that. And as I said, it helps to have an organization or two behind you. And if not, set up your own group and go as a group.
The first step is to identify who you need to meet with. It could be a legislator, it could be a legislative staffer, or it could be another decision maker, for example, somebody at a regulatory agency. Oftentimes, your meeting will be taken by a legislative staffer, and that's perfectly fine. Their job is to simply relay your story and your request back to their boss. You can find legislators' contact info on their legislative website. It's as simple as a Google search.
Hi, I'm State Senator Daphne Michelson today, and I want you to know that reaching out to your legislator is as easy as going to your state's website and figuring out all their details. The email address, the phone number, everything is there, and your state legislator wants you to reach out to them. So please feel free to shoot an email, make a phone call, or find us on social media and send us a direct message. We're here to help you, and we need to hear from you to be able to help you.
I really challenge you to just be fierce in your advocacy, know that you are actually our boss and your input matters. So when you see those opportunities, and people like to be communicated in different ways, I think that's important. I'd love to say that this is the right way to communicate with a legislator. Some prefer email better, some prefer phoning their staff. Some, in this new world will respond to social media, etc. A great way to find out the best way to communicate is usually through staff. So an official call or email to the office first. But there's different tips and tricks, and that's part of that building the relationship that matters.
Whether the meeting is in person or virtual, preparation is key. And this is where the CDC can be most helpful to you. Make sure you understand the issue or policy that you're hoping to discuss with the elected official. Our website has a wealth of resources like one-pagers, infographics, things like that you can use, download them, print them out, bring them to the meeting. But you can understand those issues more in depth from a patient perspective and understand how other patients are experiencing those issues as well, so that your story carries as much weight as possible. Write down your talking points, practice your story, and think about what kind of questions you might be asked, even though it's okay to not know the answer to every question that a legislator might pose to you.
For example, my name is Nathaniel, and I'm here to talk to you about prior authorization. I have osteoarthritis and I have to go through prior authorization all the time for basic follow-up care. In addition to the irritation of having to talk to my insurance company, time lost from work, and the time my doctor spends advocating for me, it's completely unnecessary for standard care plans for common diseases like mine. We need the state of Washington to make this easier for patients.
Remember, when you walk into a meeting with a legislator, you are the expert on your story. Legislators may be experts in certain areas, but they're not experts in your experience, and it's their job to listen to you.
Leaning in and telling your story, it is a brave thing and it is a hard thing, but it really does change the viewpoints and adds teeth to the work that is being done by policymakers of all levels. When you are ready to do that, it is important that you realize and that you know that you are fierce, and it is your story and your story matters. And it is your elected officials' job to hear you. It is their staff's job to hear you.
Out of legislative sessions, there's a lot of opportunities to engage with legislators. Town halls, coffee meetings, things like that are great opportunities for you to go connect with your local elected officials. They're looking to build relationships with you. The whole point of town halls and coffee meetings and things like that is to know what their constituents are thinking and to understand the issues that they're facing. Follow them all on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatever social media you use. It's very likely that they also have a platform there. They have more time for individual meetings out of session as well. So if you have a priority issue or a relationship that you're looking to build, reach out to their office anytime and ask for an individual meeting. I think this is something legislators would welcome. During legislative sessions, you should feel welcome to contact your legislator anytime. That's when there's legislation moving and there are actual policy proposals that you might have an opinion on, and your legislator wants to know what you think. Your meeting request is more likely to be handled by a staffer, and it's more likely to be about 15 minutes, but that just means that punctuality and brevity are going to be key to making sure your story and your request land the way you want them to. Let's pivot to the meeting itself. There's usually not a need to dress super formal. Something that is business casual, like a collar, some nice pants, and closed-toed shoes will be just fine. With that said, I know that patients sometimes have limitations when it comes to their mobility or their appearance, and that's perfectly okay, and you should feel comfortable appearing however you feel the most natural. When you meet, shake their hand, introduce yourself, and explain clearly your connection to the issue you want to talk to them about. Explain why the issue matters to you and what you hope to achieve by meeting with them. How you want them to vote, or if you want them to tell you what they think about an issue.
Your story is very much important. That is the top thing that will actually grab the attention. And I actually had my congressman one time tell me, skip the stats. What are you here for? What is your story? And tell me about it.
Remember, meeting with staffers is just as key as meeting with legislators. They're often the ones that will brief their bosses on key issues and will relay your story without any bias, without any color commentary. They are there to relay information back to the decision maker.
Not able to meet directly with your elected official, know that if you're meeting with their staff, that their staff is an extension of them, and you are speaking to people who are implementing policy change on a regular basis. It should not be seen as, oh, I only met with the staff. They are very important people.
Leave behind materials that will help you outline your position clearly for the legislator. It's helpful for them to have something in their hands after you meet with them so that they remember the issue that you talked about and all the different information that they need to keep in mind when they go to vote. You can download anything from the CDC website, but you can also feel free to bring a copy of your medical bill. If you're talking about the cost of treatment, you can bring a clipping from a local newspaper if you want to talk about something that's going on in your community. The bottom line is to not come to the meeting empty-handed.
I think it's good for folks that are going to be approaching legislators, whether it's, over the phone or email or in person. If you have something that you can kind of put succinctly, into a one pager, especially if you're going to be in person, and you can hand something to them, a back sheet or a Q&A, because they may not have time to look at it right then, but they may look at it later.
Another question we often hear is, what if I get asked a question I don't know the answer to? And it's okay not to know everything going into a meeting with a legislator. All you need to know is how your story connects to an issue that they are working on. This kind of on-the-spot thing is intimidating, and I get it. Always remember that they don't know everything. And that's why they're asking the question. They're not experts, you are. And so unless you know the answer, it's perfectly fine to say you don't, and that you'll get back to them. It's a great reason to follow up with their office after the meeting.
You're in a meeting and it's starting to wade into a policy issue that you're not an expert on because, it's tangentially related to why you're there. You can just say, I don't know, or it's fine to admit that you don't know. It's better than making something up or, agreeing to something that you're not sure about because it's not an area you're an expert on. So I think, especially if you're there to talk about your own personal experience and talk about relating it to a specific piece of legislation, you can just sort of be honest about that and say, I'm not actually sure about that policy. That's something I would have to look into, but I'm really here today to talk about this specific issue because it's what I know from my lived experience.
You should also plan on coming to the meeting with questions of your own. While this depends on the issue at hand, you should always feel free to ask some of the following questions. What do you think about this issue? How do you plan to vote? Can I connect you with any other people with similar experiences? Have you heard this concern from others? Are there other legislators I should be speaking with? These are the kinds of things that will help you understand what a legislator is thinking and can help you chart next steps in terms of your advocacy strategy. After the meeting, send a thank you note or a thank you email. This is a really simple but effective way to show that you're serious about the issue. And if you committed to following up with a data or report or connecting that legislator to another person, be sure to do that. It shows that you're serious, it shows that you're committed to the issue, and that you're there to solve a problem.
Following up is really important, and here's the not so secret. Most meetings that elected officials take, the people they're meeting with know more about the issue than they do. I mean, a lot of times we dig in on things, but we're largely, generalists working on different areas. We have different areas of expertise. So it is important to follow up with those questions.
Now get going. Visit our website to find legislators that are champions on our policy priorities, find legislative one-pagers that dive deep on policy issues that are important to the chronic disease community, and find information that's important to you in your advocacy journey. You can also find the first installment of our Chronic University series, which focused on creating, building, and sharing your story. Our next Chronic University is going to focus on amplifying your efforts, so stay tuned for that next video.